The pages are turning on the calendar. We're just 48 days now from the election. The political ads are really ramping up. I'm sure you've noticed. Oregon's governor's race is getting national attention as some political experts say the race is now a toss-up between Democrat Tina Kotek, Republican Christine DRAZAN, and unaffiliated candidate Betsy Johnson. It's fascinating if you love politics like I do. Is the long run of Democratic governors coming to an end in Oregon, or can Tina Kotek continue Oregon's blue precedent? Will Christine DRAZAN flip the Republican script? The last Republican to hold office was Vic Atiyeh, and he was replaced by Democrat Neil Goldschmidt way back in 1987. Or will Betsy Johnson make history? According to the National Governors Association, Oregon has only had one unaffiliated or independent governor, and that was Jules Meyer back in 1930 or in the 30s. There's a lot at stake. And after our segment on the race earlier this week, a lot of you had questions. In fact, some, like Steve, asked, "Hello, Pat and crew. Who are the top donors of each of the gubernatorial candidates?" Well, that's a great question, Steve. So we went and found the answer. One of our digital reporters, Anthony Masuk, tracked down the data. It's all publicly available on something called the Oregon Secretary of State's Overstar Campaign Finance Database. Don't try to remember that. Candidates are required to log all their campaign contributions and expenditures, but they don't have to do it immediately. So some of the transactions from this week are not listed yet, but here's what Anthony found so far. It is a very expensive race, and it's poised to likely become the most expensive in Oregon history. Each of the candidates has raised between $8 and $9 million. Combined, it totals more than $26 million. But they've spent nearly $24 million so far, so they're spending it almost as fast as they're getting it. And they're spending it on things like these campaign ads that you see almost all the time in the commercial breaks. But where do things stand right now? Well, we're 7 weeks away from Election Day, and all three candidates are in the same ballpark when it comes to cash on hand. Johnson has about $2.6 million, KOTEK $2.5 million, DRAZAN around $2 million. A majority of the donations to each campaign are $1,000 or less, mostly coming from individual Oregonians. The small donations make up less than $1 million for each candidate, though, meaning there are some pretty big players pouring money into the race. Now to Steve's question, and the question on many of your minds. Where is the majority of this money coming from? Let's take a dive here. We start with Democrat Tina Kotek. Her biggest donor is the fundraising arm of the Democratic Party. That's called the Democratic Governors Association. They've given over $3.1 million. The rest of her top-end donors include political action committees and labor groups, $565,000 from the Citizen Action for Political Education PAC, $340,000 from the Stand for Children Oregon, and $250,000 from the Oregon League of Conservation Voters. Now, Republican Christine DRAZAN. Her biggest donor is the fundraising arm of the Republican Party. That's also called the Republican Governors Association. See a trend here? They've kicked in over $2.6 million. Her other big donors lean more toward businesses, including $500,000 from the lumber company Swanson Group, $350,000 from Murphy Plywood, $250,000 over the past year from the Stephen J. Harder Trust, and the same amount from Blue Water Farm and K&E Excavating. And finally, let's look at Betsy Johnson. As an unaffiliated candidate, she doesn't have those big party donors, but she does have some big names and big corporations on her side, including one you may have heard of, Phil Knight. He's the Nike co-founder and her biggest donor by far, totaling $1.5 million. Next is the Eugene-based heavy equipment company, the Pepe Group, giving $750,000 over the past year. Columbia Sportswear CEO Tim Boyle has given $400,000 over the past year. And Betsy Johnson has an array of large donations of $100,000 or more from logging and timber companies, which you'd kind of expect with her family's lumber background. Now, this is just a snapshot of the fundraising efforts as they appear right now. You can bet your bottom dollar that fundraising and spending will only ramp up as we get closer to the November 8th election, with millions being tossed around for a single purpose: your vote. You can find our full story on these campaign donations right now on KGW.com.